speaker, Joel Konopkin. Joel is working from Pathways Presentation Mastery Path. He's doing an introduction to Toastmasters mentoring today, and his time is 5 to 7 minutes. It's been often said that the reason you first joined Toastmasters is probably not the reason you're still a member today. Another example of this will be described in Joel's speech entitled Mrs. G. Please welcome Joel Konopkin.
Do you remember in high school we'd get these test questions or essay assignments would have the words compare and contrast?
All the time.
All the time. Well, this morning I'm going to compare and contrast those high schools with our club. Compare. They're both educational organizations, and you can meet people who can impact your lives. Contrast. In Toastmasters, we're all students, we're all teachers. And unlike our high schools, we get to see in real time the impact we have on people. Today I'm going to tell you about how being here caused me to reach out to one of my old teachers and what happened as a result. Valley Toastmasters, past, present, and future. I think it was about 6 months ago, we heard our clubmate Mark Lowe talk about his new job in Indiana and the role Connie played in helping him get it. Not long after that, we heard Moto, then Caitlin give speeches in which they talked about their new careers. A series of changed lives, and we've been here to see them. And it got me thinking about my high school journalism teacher, a woman named Sandy Grassinger. We called her Mrs. G. My junior year in LA, I joined the newspaper staff, and by the start of my senior year, I decided I wanted to major in journalism. One day in the newspaper office, I overheard Mrs. G telling someone about the great journalism program at San Jose State. For that reason, and absolutely no other, I went to college in San Jose, where 11 years later, I would meet Yolanda in the YMCA swimming pool. My whole life's arc was set on 15 seconds of overheard conversation. I've told that story many times, in several speeches, including one at this club, many other conversations. All these people know how Mrs. G impacted my life. And one person who didn't was Mrs. G. I decided I'd correct that. Now, as it happened, at about that time, I had just started dipping my toe into Facebook. This was a big step for me. When it comes to social media, I have tended to be, well, antisocial. But Grassinger isn't a terribly common name, not like Konopkin. And when I looked her up, I found that she had been at that school for about 40 years before retiring. Let me think. 40 years, 4,000, 5,000 students. Is she going to remember some gawky sports writer from her first year? So I decided to tread lightly. This was a precarious situation. So I waited till she posted something sort of educational, and I wrote, I was on the Titan staff your first year at Rolling Hills. It's good to know that you're still alive and well and still teaching. Now, she wrote back, oh, I remember you very well. What are you doing and how are you doing? Did she really remember it? She might have, I don't know. So this gave me the excuse. I wrote something not real detailed, married, live in Phoenix, retired accountant, 2 grown kids, and then I told her why I wanted to write. So to answer your question, I've lived a pretty good life, and I want to thank you for the role you played in making it happen. And that might have ended it, but she wrote back, I'm so happy to hear that. For my first year, I have a hard time remembering you kids as anything but a bunch of adorable and goofy teenagers. And I wrote back, well, I'm still goofy, and my wife thinks I'm adorable. You do, don't you? Thank you. And that might have ended it. Except that, as I tend to do in these situations, I got curious. Who was this person from my long ago, who I only remember as a 27-year-old rookie teacher? Well, Google was no help whatsoever, but I started following her timeline. Cartoons posted all the time, hyper-competitive Yahtzee games with the grandchildren, and my favorite, celebrating her 75th birthday, fittingly on April Fool's Day, by riding a roller coaster at Dollywood in Nashville. And I realized something. This woman from my long ago was the embodiment of the message I was trying to get across in my Toy Story speech. I'll go a step further. She is Toy Story. So I sent her a video that Mike had recorded at Speak It Like Bebo, explained to her why I wanted her to see it. She wrote me a couple of questions, and based on those questions, to make my message hopefully a little clearer, I made a couple tweaks to my speech. 48 years later, she's still my teacher. We've had a few exchanges since then. One day she posted something on her timeline, a picture of the Disneyland admission prices from 1962, and was wondering if the increases since then had matched the increases in income. Well, being the good accountant I am, I did a little research, posted something, and she wrote back, "You're still the same genius you were in high school." And I posted a reply, or I wrote a reply, "You mean the genius who made his college choice in 15 seconds? And then I remembered, it worked out pretty well, didn't it? I never sent that reply. There are two stories, two messages I'd like you to take away from my story. One is simply to appreciate how special it is what we have here. I'm an accountant, so I think in terms of investment and return. We invest here our time, our effort, a little bit of our souls, in ourselves and in others. We get the returns in the form of changed lives, our own and in others. Over time, those dividends compound. Big reason why a lot of us stay so long. But there are people from our long agos, yes, teachers, but also family, friends, churches, coaches, maybe your first boss, who also impact their lives and they don't know it. Reach out to them. It's the right thing to do, and maybe by doing so, you can impact their lives and yours as well. Mr. Joseph.
Thank you. So please take a minute to complete an evaluation form for Joel.